welcome to Flying for Flavor, episode 27. And 27 already.
It's the same as my age.
Exactly what I thought.
No one can keep a straight face on that one.
So welcome to our first live episode here at Hard Rock 42 Gastropub in Sudbury, Ontario. We were planning to do a beer episode anyways, and we thought as much as we have fun drinking by ourselves in our little studio, we thought it would be much more fitting to come over here where all the taps are, just so that we can kind of get the atmosphere right? Because we are drinking after all. I'll post some pictures after, but I'll do a quick round of introductions, but just for a little bit of a preview, the entire goal or the background goal of this episode is to get Cynthia to drink beer.
That one smells like juice. Okay, there's one that smells like juice. I have hope.
She is not.
I'm gonna try that one.
Not a beer drinker.
No.
And so how many beer you have on tap right now?
65.
65 beer on tap. So
And I'm gonna try them all tonight.
if we can't find her a beer, then there's something wrong.
Yeah.
Then it's her fault.
We have a little bit of everything, so
you're
she'll
broken.
find something.
That's your.
I may have been accused of that before.
All right, I'll just do a quick little introduction about our special guest today. Of course, Deke's in the house.
Heyo.
Hi. Still, of course, Cynthia's here with a beer in front of her. Rob Majori's here from Stack Brewing.
Howdy.
And Dave Tamerman is here he is one of the owners of Hard Rock 42.
Yay.
So he is the proprietor of this place, and he knows everything about the food and beer pairing, so I thought it was a good fit. Who ordered? Deke ordered the beer for Cynthia.
Deke ordered my beer? So what did you order me?
So beer,
Yes.
there's a beer sampler platter, and
Should we talk about Cynthia's problem first?
jump right in.
Cynthia's damage.
Cynthia's problem is she doesn't like beer, so we had to order beer for someone who doesn't like beer. So we went with kind of fruity tints for the most part. So
Okay, give us a lineup.
The two that I was adamant on ordering for Cynthia were both two Kronenberg items. So there was Kronenberg Blanc, which I'm a massive fan of, and Kronenberg Rouge. And Blanc I thought would be perfect because I was explaining to Cynthia it has hints of like orange and coriander, and I think it might kind of just curtail the concept of beer a little bit for her. Then there's also our own home Stack Brewing has a time bomb, so we're gonna try that out today. And we also have Flying Monkeys, and it's 12 minutes to midnight.
That's the fruit beer.
Yeah, that's the fruit beer.
Yeah,
so
it
they're all
smells
all kind of fruity. So, and then, but she tried my Stack chocolate cherry porter, and she loved it.
Who knew that
Right?
she would like the porter?
Yeah, of all things.
Like the darkest, thickest one of a bunch. Right?
That was a cherry porter stout.
It's a stout, yeah, not scary at all. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's still, yeah.
Okay, you guys go ahead. I'm gonna start drinking.
All right, that's the Kronenberg Blanc.
It's pretty mild. It's a wit beer.
Nope, that's beer.
Oh, that's a beer. I failed.
You don't want it. So you don't want it to taste like beer.
No.
She liked the stout better.
I mean, there's like
Okay.
there's this aftertaste that you get when you drink beer, and if you like that aftertaste, then you tend to like beer. I think. And there's I don't know, maybe you guys can explain to me what that taste is.
Well, that's a good lead-in, actually, because you had some questions for Rob. Because
I did.
Rob's the guy that's in the behind the scenes on the brewery side, so maybe he can give you a little bit of an intro.
Yes. So what is that taste?
There's many different flavors and many different kinds of beer.
There's like a distinctive something when you drink beer.
And what particular kind of beer?
Okay, well, I've just had, to be honest, so I've had this for years, people putting all these different kind of beers in front of me saying, we're going to find one you're going to like, but they all have, I don't know if it's like a hoppy or a fermenty. I mean, I like wine, and wine is fermented, and I like alcohol, and liquor is fermented, but there's this, I don't know, maybe it's that hoppy,
Maybe it's the carbonation?
I like,
More the mouthfeel or
no,
the taste?
no,
Aftertaste.
yeah, it's an aftertaste to it, like a flavor.
Long finish.
Yes.
Okay, well, it could be a number of things. Like if it's hops, depending on the kind of hop, the growing region, the strain of hops, all hops provide different flavors. There's hops that provide flavors of white grape, Chardonnay, pineapple, licorice, mango, peach. Like it's limitless, the
I want
potential
to
of
say
what
it's
hops
almost
do.
weedy.
It's almost weedy. So it might be malty.
Some maltiness.
Maybe
Yeah.
It might be that other side. So malts, there's also countless different styles of malts. So wheat malts, pilsners, two-row, and then there's different things you can do to the malts too that provide different colors and hues of the beer. So Deek's beer has it's jet black. That's roasted malt, chocolate malt. There's even a malt called the Prince of Darkness that actually has all the roasted characters taken out of it for flavor and only affects the visual. So it just comes out jet black.
Cool.
So it could taste like a blonde ale, but be jet black.
Looks bark louder than the bite.
Looks scary.
Right.
So with all of these different flavors and potential ingredients, what makes a beer a beer? Like we know wine usually is grapes, and different liquors have their specific ingredients.
So all beer is always 4 ingredients. So water, malted barley, hops, and yeast. So brewing beer is as culinary as it is science. So different ingredients basically get you a different kind of beer. So beer is always those 4 ingredients. Now this is where it gets a little.
You're starting to get like gluten-free beers and stuff now that wouldn't have any of those things, right?
We add gluten to our beer. We love gluten at Stack. So we're big
Cheers
fans.
for gluten.
Celiac daily.
So we think extra gluten the better. But where it gets a little bit more difficult is all the styles of different beer there are. So it's easier to put them in 2 categories. So there's lagers, which are Marzen beers, Bocks, alt beers. Then there's ales, which could be stouts, porters, IPAs, blondes. There's so many different categories.
Almost sounds like it's like lager and then everything else.
Yeah. Pretty much. They both have their subgroups. Yeah.
Sorry, the cheap seats are laughing at me right
They're
now.
giggling.
Did she just say that?
That's okay. We're here to school. We're here to school you.
There is no Prosecco here. That is true. So why do you think beer is so popular? I mean, Lord knows when we were in college it was the thing, but we're also seeing more and more craft breweries popping up and like these places like Hard Rock with the bazillion taps on.
I think it's because locally brewed beer, the good beer, is more accessible now. So
Oh, we're all over here now.
Sorry, we're getting food served.
Food served. Sorry.
Just so you can't hear it on the thing, but I got some
And
apps
so
to go
why
along with
beer
beer.
over, say, like vodka, for example? Because we hear about people making liquor, like moonshine type things in the bathtub. Why beer?
I think distilling is really popular too, but I think it's popular now just because it is more accessible. Having a Sudbury brewery or a Sault Ste. Marie brewery or a North Bay brewery, it's you root for the hometown beer and the hometown business. And then also that you get more availability to brand the beer after a region of town, after a quirky aspect of the town too. So there's more personal touch to it, I think.
And I was going to ask too, do you think it's a regional thing? Is it like that maybe, we live in Sudbury, which is like a mining city / town in the north, a lot of blue collar folks here and at least that's where our origins are from. Do you think that that's a factor, or are we seeing it in like the more sophisticated kind of cities like New York and Toronto and Vancouver?
In markets like New York or Toronto, you can't spit without hitting 3 breweries. Sorry. Yeah.
No, that's cool,
There's a lot.
That's a great imagery.
The next time Steph goes to New York.
Geez, Louis, breweries are popping up everywhere. There's going to be 3 in Thunder Bay.
wow.
There's 2 on Manitoulin Island.
That happened fast.
Yeah. Like there's.
Isn't there like one brewery a week in Ontario?
Yeah, and then that's not even including contract breweries, who are people who basically commission other breweries to make a beer for them and package it, and then they just act as the seller.
They're like the brander, so to speak.
So if a local restaurant, if Hard Rock wanted their own beer, they could commission a brewery to do that.
We're like,
give us
so Hard Rock wanted their own beer, Stack could hook them up.
Are you
Well,
doing
we've been approached by breweries and then they can do a collaboration, so to speak, or they can brew beer for us, and then we'll be the only ones with that beer on tap.
Right.
Ooh, maybe we could do a flying for flavor beer.
I'm sure you
Now
can
we're
find a
talking.
brewery that would do
Can
it.
we get a wine flavored chocolatey beer?
No, I know. I would actually.
I know of a couple of those actually.
Yeah, you should probably do that too.
Yeah.
I have heard that.
Yeah, we've had them before.
I think it'd be, no, I'm actually, my brain's starting to go on overdrive. I'm just trying to think of using some kind of international flavors to influence to show like the travel stuff. But that's, anyways, I'm getting beyond myself.
So get the aftertaste from that one as well.
So I just tried the Stack Brewery's Time Bomb, and it had much less of an aftertaste. Almost had like a wine finish to it. Oh. Like almost grapey.
That's compared to
Drier.
That is actually from the hops.
Oh,
It's a hop
interesting.
called Nelson Sauvage from New Zealand. That's when I said hops contribute that white wine, white grape
Yes.
kind of flavor. That's that.
Interesting. So apparently I like the hoppy taste. So it's something else I don't like.
So you didn't know what you were labeling.
Yeah.
Which is common. That happens for all, even for wine drinkers, same thing. The sense of taste is something that's actually learned as you grow older. It is not something that you're born with. So a sense of taste is the same thing with the sense of smell. You can kind of learn to define what the word is to describe what you're tasting or smelling, right? It's just something that you kind of, it's one of your senses. So you can call it whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, this is what I call it, but it's probably not right.
Whatever, it works.
See, we're learning here.
Good.
So I just tried the Time Bomb. If we've talked about wine pairings a lot, and I know we're going to talk kind of throughout the evening about beer pairing. So pairing our food with beer. What would you pair with the Time Bomb?
Oh, jeez. Maybe I should find
putting you on the
something on
spot.
the menu too. Yeah.
Try something and see how it pairs up.
Oh, well, we could try a couple of things. So there's a couple of
we've got
things
some
that they
stuff
brought
here.
out here from Hard Rock. So they have some garlic. Nothing more Canadian than garlic curds.
Yeah, deep fried garlic.
Deep
curd.
fried garlic curds. So,
They're so good.
So basically, the curds that go on top of poutine, which is also a very Canadian thing. So they just, as opposed to just serving them as is, you breaded them, fried them, and served them with
It's
dip.
it's a pretty light breading, and then we tossed in some homemade garlic.
Oh, they're garlicky.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and then the other one is the candied brie. So we do some candied bacon.
I had the exact same thing last time I was here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the option between that and the Localicious.
Yeah.
I really wanted to support Localicious. Maybe we should.
you saw the
I
candied
just not
brie.
caught my eye.
We had the one with the lobster.
That's right.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So I went with this one instead of that. Instead of the lobster. I chose bacon over lobster. I don't know. But
I
I
would
did.
choose bacon
It's
over
just
lobster.
what happened. It's just what happened.
Yeah.
It was really good. I was really excited about it actually.
Well, I'll do one last question for Rob before we move on to Dave.
Before I shovel some
What's
food in
your,
there.
no, by all means, what's your favorite stack beer right now?
I like Shatter Cone. It's a Vermont style IPA.
Okay.
Do you want me to talk about it?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Because it's the beer I love selling.
Okay.
I think I'm obviously
That is not
really passionate about it. Yeah.
That is like a
Cooler.
So it's a 6.5% Vermont style IPA.
You like it?
It's brewed with yeast called Conan.
Okay.
Conan yeast gives the beer a lot of its flavor. Besides fermenting it and getting its alcohol from the yeast, it gives it actually the flavor of mango and peach.
Oh,
So
interesting.
it's a really cool yeast. And then Shattercone is also generously hopped with Calypso hops and Simcoe, Citra, Mosaic. That's where it gets a big tropical.
It's very complicated.
Yeah, it's a really big beer. It's our most expensive beer that we make. That's why it's the one we all take home.
which is why it's your favorite.
There you go.
Oh, it's got expensive legal. The champagne tastes on a beer budget. That would be the reverse.
That would be the
right?
opposite,
That'd be
right?
the opposite.
So I just tried the Flying Monkeys 12 minutes, and I looked at the boys. Here, sorry, Rob, I was totally like talking over you. I was like, "That's not beer." It literally tastes like a wine cooler.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like no beer taste, like that fermenty whatever, probably the malt taste that it was, the malt taste that I get from it. None of that at all. This would be the beer that you give the 19-year-olds who just started drinking and are afraid of beer. This is what I would.
Oh, great. We're promoting
That was-
drinking.
I
that
said 19.
That was jungle juice for me when I was 16. Remember the 2 liters you could buy?
I think that's a hibiscus. Yeah.
That's a hibiscus.
Yeah.
Yeah, it tastes a lot like a wild berry cooler. Like if I had to like compare it to it's reminding me of my youth because of course I didn't drink before I was 19.
Of course you didn't. Yeah, me neither. Wink, wink.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's okay. Do you have any questions for
Yeah,
Dave?
I do.
Yeah.
So what beers right now are trending best for beer sales, Dave?
You know what? I was talking to Rob about that earlier. I think sours probably.
Sours.
Sours have been
Like the
trending for a
ales?
while, but it seems like Ontario's a little bit behind.
Man, I tried the Naughty Neighbor. Not a fan.
I don't think that's really a sour though.
No, that's a.
It's not. I found it really,
That's a pale
I found
ale.
it really bitter.
Really? Yeah. I'm talking like typical like sours, like
what?
cherry sours, like the Stack Time Bomb, the expansion.
Yeah.
Really sour beers.
Sour and tart beers. Yeah.
Really, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I can see the tartness, and that's just my wine palate.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if I'm puckering, I'm good. That's right up my alley. So.
Then you would probably like a sour beer.
So you wouldn't order spicy wings with that?
You know, I find like beer pairing, like I find it very personal, to be honest with you. Like what I would pair a beer with might be not the same what we would pair a
Like
beer
getting someone
with.
to try
That's
perfume.
a good
I
answer.
find that though, like I find it's not an exact science for me.
It's like why you never buy a cologne for someone.
Well, I mean, yes, yeah, which is very similar.
I think
but
that's
it's the
kind
same.
of the same thing.
It is the
yeah.
same thing even with wine pairing. So as much as I can give some guidance
Right.
to people,
Yeah.
I have never said you must pair this with
Right.
this.
Yeah.
And it's basically that if you have this is what's going to happen.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So from what I've always known or worked with beer pairing would be that comparing and contrasting. So either you want to have the similar flavors to enhance it, or you want to do opposites,
Right.
right? To sort of.
I'm
but
sure
it-
it's the same with wine. Like you wouldn't just, what you would pair a piece of cheese with might be different. I would choose probably a different wine than maybe you. And I think it's kind of the same for beer, really.
So myself, like with that candied brie, for example,
Right.
that you brought out, what would I'm personally confused as to what kind of beer I would order.
Going in.
It's really good with the
With the
fine
brie, I
monkey.
find it's a lot of, it's more of a mouthfeel than a taste.
Okay.
So I would pair it with a porter.
Really? Eh?
Yeah, because the porter has kind of a similar mouthfeel, I find.
That is very interesting. I would
Isn't that what you're having as a quarter?
Like, is that a quarter?
That's a stout that
That's a
I have,
stout.
yeah.
Which one are you drinking? The cherry
That's
chocolate?
the cherry
Right.
chocolate, yeah.
I think that would go pretty well, actually. And with the cheese curds, I would probably do like a half or a wit beer.
Yeah,
I was gonna
so
go
like
with
the
the
blonde.
Kronenberg Blanc, I think
Yeah.
would go.
I was,
that
I
would
was
go
gonna
really
go
well,
with
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to balance this. Oh my lord,
You need a spoon. I think that's it.
I'm getting in there.
There you go.
Sorry, brie break. All right. Okay, sorry, Rob. And we're passing food around. And that's what you do at a bar, right? I had a couple questions, I guess, about the mix on the taps because you have 65 here.
Right.
So how do you have like a set formula, as in how many of this, how many of this? Like how do you choose what to do with 65?
No, not really. We kind of have some, not even deals, but like some verbal agreements with some breweries. Like for example, we'll always have 6 stack beers on.
Local represent.
Right, for sure. Yeah. We try to keep it as local as we can. So we'll have Sault Ste. Marie breweries, we'll have North Bay. We find that those are like local breweries to us. I think mostly we have Ontario breweries. But now with this new menu, basically everything is a rotating tap. There's some beers that we have we'll replace with the same beer, like a steam whistle.
Yep.
But it's more to do with the coupler than it is with
Okay, so it's basically the
there's-
system or the taps how it
right.
is.
So there's about 6, 7, maybe even more different couplers. And so if you would want to put a stack beer on the steam whistle tap, we would have to change the coupler. So basically, steam whistle will stay steam whistle, and it helps that it's a popular beer. It's a known beer. People recognize the brand. It's an easy drinking beer, so we'll keep that on. Same with Stella, Whole Garden. Those are all beers that we will keep on. But out of those 65, I think we probably have 50 rotating beers. That will be something different. Like so when the stack Saturday night, I think it's almost empty, so we'll have another stack on, but not necessarily Saturday night. It might be another one. And it's whatever's in reach downstairs. We'll just
Oh,
kind of
okay,
put
so
on.
it's not okay. Well, we just finished this one style, and we need to replace it with something similar? It's just
No,
that's what
we
we
don't-
got first, and then maybe
Well, like we have a lot of porters and stouts on right now because those are my favorite beers. So but normally, yeah,
so he's got some influence.
we wouldn't put too many stouts on because it's not a super popular beer. So we wouldn't have like 20 stouts on, but like 2, 3. That's a good
Stout,
mix.
I have to admit, stout's one of the. That's a hard. I'm not quite into stouts yet.
I think most people are into the like some lagers and ales, pale ales. You know, you wouldn't want like all high alcohol beers on either. You know, you want to kind of have a balance. But with 65
for
taps,
yourself. That's
well, yeah, but it's just me though. But yeah, you want to keep it around the 5% mostly, right?
Go for it.
But yeah, no, this we've had before where we would have like 40 set beers and then about 15 or 20 rotating. But I find when people come in, the first thing they want to see is the list, as opposed to the beers that are on the menu.
Okay.
So that's why we just print a new list every day, or even sometimes more than once a
Okay.
day.
That's smart.
Right. So this works good for us, and I think it's great for the customer because they get to try something new.
What's your absolute favorite single pairing on the menu?
I think the best pairing would be the mussels with a half beer or with a wit beer.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
that would be the easiest pairing,
Okay,
really.
you said a hef beer?
a half a Weizen.
Oh, okay. No, see, that's again. I'm still new to this.
Right.
I know I have had a wheat beer before, and so I can get that because
What
that's
is
very
it?
wine-like. So I
A
can see
half
that.
and a Weiss, it's pretty much the same thing, right?
Hefeweizen is a German wheat ale.
Yep.
And then Belgian wit is obviously Belgian. Yeah, so it's different yeasts.
Oh, okay. Basically, it's all the difference. Okay. Okay, because I've had a wheat beer before, so I can see that. The only reason we didn't order the mussels here is not because I didn't want them, because I envied them when Rich was having them at the table next to us. But I thought passing them around might be a little awkward.
Yeah, well, yeah, it would be
You have
hard.
like 5 different kinds too,
Well,
right?
And I don't
4
share.
different kinds,
And I don't share well. I could probably
Yeah.
plow through those mussels in like 2
Yeah.
seconds.
Well, yeah. One of the dishes with the mussels we make with Blanche, the Chamblay, we put it in the mussels.
Yeah.
We steam the mussels with it, so and it's perfect. Yeah.
So I was trying to think. I didn't know if it was appropriate to do a fly in my soup. Did you guys have anything you need to rant about this week?
I think I'm good for this week. And that's
You're just a happy guy. That's why.
No, it's not really a fly on the soup. No, good.
Okay. Well, I can vent about wobbly tables because like Dave
Yeah.
fixed this
Oh yeah.
because I have, and it's not because it's the coaster thing. So it is just because I can find, regardless if they're high tops or table, it doesn't matter where I've traveled.
There's always a wobbly
It's
table.
always a wobbly table, and I'm always the one that usually finds it.
And it doesn't matter whether you're in the greasiest, dirtiest corner dive or the fanciest, most
right.
elite fancy restaurant. They're still using the coasters to fix the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, hence the coasters under
It's
the
true.
I know, we did
It's
it.
true.
I know it's
Like you mean
true.
these like 4-star hatted restaurants, and I swear to God, they're still pulling out the beer coasters
Yeah.
to fix it.
So I'm always just curious as to why are there wobbly
Because you know
tables?
what, I think you think there's only one wobbly table in the establishment. There's always probably like 90% wobbly tables.
So do you think that people just don't complain about them that often?
No, I think they complain about it. I think they complain about
And you
it.
just
I
get
think-
more coasters.
Well, yeah. Some tables have those little wheels and you can adjust
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But then when the table moves like an inch or
I
here,
think
and then
it's the moving of the tables. I think that's probably what does it. That makes sense.
Yeah, we should have tables that are attached to the floor.
Right.
That would solve the problem.
No, you don't get the same
But
flex.
then you can't,
You
yeah.
can't flex. No, you gotta flex the tables.
You can't flip it when you're upset too.
No, it's
Yeah.
I love flipping a good table. Gotta flip a table.
Table flipping.
So,
Oh my
we
God.
talked a little bit about the gluten-free option with Rob and Stack Brewery. Is that something that you guys think about in this establishment because of the prevalence of people who do require that kind of
did
thing
have,
to enjoy it?
yeah, we did have a gluten-free beer on top. So you have to get your line cleaned, obviously, and then you put the gluten-free beer on, and then you basically pour the gluten-free beer just out of that line, right?
Right, yeah.
Because you want cross-contamination.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, we've done that.
Is there a demand for it, or
Well, The reason why we took it off is because it wasn't. We weren't selling the keg fast enough.
Yeah.
But we do have it in bottle. You know, like we don't really
that's
sell
good.
any bottles of beer, but we do sell that one. And
So if someone comes in and they're celiac and they're looking for something.
Well, the people that I know that have celiac,
right. But I do like the idea of
they're
that.
just not really beer drinkers to start off with, and they don't really order it or have it at home anyway.
Yeah, and we actually get asked like at least weekly if we're ever going to make a gluten-free beer. But like Dave
But
said,
I think you would have
cross-contamination.
Yeah, you
like,
would. It'd be hard.
No, it would have to be a completely separate.
I think there's a brewery though that has completely gluten-free, isn't it? I thought
Yeah, but at which point would that be sustainable to do that, right? I mean,
Right.
you'd have to sell a lot of it to make up
definitely different
for the demand.
Was it Mill Street? Gluten-free? No.
I think there was a brewery somewhere in Ontario that only makes gluten-free beer. But I honestly, I can't remember. I thought it was around Barrie, but I could be wrong. It's hard to keep track of breweries. There's a lot. Somebody just knocked on my door 2 days ago. A brewery I've never heard of.
I think people are doing them out of the back, like their garage or something.
Well, I don't know about that, but there's so many breweries popping up. It's just hard to keep track.
I watched, I don't know, it wasn't a documentary, I don't know if it was on the National or something, and they were talking about even out west, where there was such a saturation of breweries. I think it might be Calgary, but there was such a saturation of them that they were, the neighbors or the other business people are concerned that there's people who are opening them now that might be a little late.
Okay.
Right? Just for the saturation, because there's so many of them. So, I mean, it's, but you know what? If you do the job well, it doesn't matter, right?
And also where you're doing it, like in Portland, I think there's like 75 breweries.
Oh, yeah, I gotta get to Portland.
Yeah.
Grand Rapids has 50.
Yeah,
It's in a
it's
50-mile radius. Yeah.
You must do a hell of a lot of trade shows.
We do our best not to.
I thought you guys loved doing those things.
Oh man, no.
I can only stretch this so far, but do you guys have any questions about beer stuff? Rod, do you have any questions about beer?
It's not a question, just something I read online recently in regards to the kind of the tipping point when it comes to craft breweries, and so guys like you, and then people that own restaurants, guys like you, where you can only accommodate so many taps, but there are so many guys coming on board. So what do you do? Like, where are you going to go with this? And where are it's just saturated. The market is saturated across the country. Specifically, I read in Alberta where it's crazy, and there's so many people coming on board craft breweries. And so, where's the balance there at all?
Well, for us, it's pretty easy. Like we always said from the beginning, we're gonna support as local and as close to us as we can. So for us, and we can still get new beer because there's Norse. It's one of the recent breweries, and I find them local. So as long as there's breweries around us, we'll be supporting them.
Right.
But I know what you're saying. Like, would we ever get a beer from? I don't know.
Yeah, and that's not my question. It's just that there's so much out there. How much can you support? So what do you think?
I think one of the big ways that folks like Dave and Hard Rock 42 handle it is this list, the
rotation of it.
the rotation. So they can bring in North from Parry Sound, then they can get Red Line from Barrie, and then Highlander from South River, and then once the keg goes, they're on to the next one. And, rotating taps are really important. In Northern Ontario, there's a lot of fixed taps, as we call it, where larger breweries pay for it and they own it, regardless of who owns the restaurant. So
Because they pay for the equipment and stuff to be there.
so
The equipment and the install.
deals like that make it really hard for breweries our size to get into it. But speaking for Stack, we're a Sudbury brewery. As soon as we found that we were at all the places we loved in Sudbury, then we could start branching out. We moved into North Bay, Sault Ste. Marie, Thunder Bay, even as far as Toronto and Ottawa. So once you do what you can in a market, you start spreading out a little bit more, bit further. Yeah.
Good for you. Good for both of you. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's like a match made in heaven. All right, before you close up, I wanted to do some quick trivia questions.
Oh, before we do that,
Oh, you get a question?
I tasted the last beer,
Oh, okay.
which was the Kronenberg Rouge.
Yes. Oh, that's the new one you were asking about. That, eh?
And I would say if I had to rank them,
Uh-oh.
it was better than the other Kronenberg.
Okay.
But you can actually see almost by how I drank the glasses. The wine cooler one was like my favorite beer.
Was that the 12 minutes?
Yes.
Yeah.
The 12 minutes, which
Because you said it didn't taste like beer.
it didn't taste like beer at all. I would say the Time Bomb was like the number 2 because it still tasted a little bit beery but had that fruity kind of grapey taste to it. Then the Kronenberg Rouge and then the Kronenberg Blanc.
I was just going to say, are you going to use that in your tasting notes?
So next time you
The
go,
grapey, winey flavor to it.
yeah. So next time you go, I would try to order a Radler. That might be
I
something
have
you
tried
like. Oh, you've tried
Radlers.
Radlers?
I have tried Radlers, but I find my Radlers are really good if I mix them with tequila and more grapefruit juice.
Oh, yeah, well, you're not really talking about a beer anymore.
There's no beer at that point.
Yeah. And that's why we're friends. I'm going to take my Radler and I'm going to add in more alcohol and more grapefruit juice. Okay. So I just wanted to have some trivia just because in case people didn't know these. Okay, so this beer, though often thought to be German, is actually Dutch. So
It's
which
like
beer is
a
it?
name of the beer?
Heineken.
Attaboy. Well done, well
good job,
done.
Ron.
I got a Oh, it's a trivia question. I have a price for you.
And you said you couldn't do beer trivia.
Okay, so where is the largest beer festival in the world? You're not listening.
What is the question?
Largest beer festival in the world.
Germany.
Germany, Oktoberfest.
Where in Germany?
Munich.
Munich. Yeah, I was seeing Munich.
You know how
Beer guy answers it.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks.
Oh, well done. Okay, so what is the second largest beer festival in the world?
The flour mill.
Okay, for people who are not in Sudbury, you may not get the flour mill joke. Okay. So, interestingly enough, actually Rob shared this with me, the second largest beer festival in the world is in Kitchener, Ontario.
Oh, of course.
Kitchener!
Go Canada.
Go Canada! I know. Makes sense now, right? So what is the ingredient in beer that causes fermentation to take place, Cynthia?
The hoppy stuff?
No,
The malted
oh
stuff.
my goodness. Okay, think of your wine production. So what makes the wine ferment?
Yeast. The yeast. See, you mentioned wine, now you're talking my language.
Okay, so this is just for me as the wine girl. What is the ideal temperature to enjoy an ale?
Very cold.
You know what temperature? How cold does an ale need to be?
That
sounds about right.
Wow, that's a little cold. That's not
Celsius, that's not freezing.
no, it's not
That's what the
freezing, but
inside
it's
of your
very
fridge
cold.
is.
So actually, that's probably closer to what you would want a Pilsner or something that's super light.
So up here.
Yeah, so it's very similar to wine. It's very similar to wine. So ale would be, okay, for wine people, this would be comparable to a Chardonnay, which should be closer to cellar temperature. So cellar temperature as opposed to room temperature, so that means like that
Like
10, 11 degrees kind of thing. So not quite like still ice forming on the outside of the bottles kind of thing, but not room temperature. People try to think it's room temperature, but it's not. That's just the best. Even with all beer and wine and everything else, there's always seems to be a ideal temperature to get the most flavor out of what the producer wanted it to be. So it's the same for beer and for wine, right? I'm checking with Robbie. He's nodding. I'm always checking to him, make sure he
You
knows.
said a lot of words.
Oh my
There was
God.
a lot of words. They were all
A
correct.
lot of words. Oh, was I correct though? That's all I wanted to know. Okay, which Belgian ale style typically uses spices like coriander and orange peel?
The Kronenberg one.
Is that funny? We were just talking about
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it says the wheat beer. Yes, the white ale. So that was on your. That's the Blanc. That's right. But you didn't like that one.
No, it still tasted like beer.
It was actually drinking here.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty sad. We'll have to take a picture of the after. So interesting. In all of the world, beer is the third most popular drink after
Coffee.
close
Water.
water and tea. Oh, good call. Yes, water and tea.
Damn Brits.
Water, tea, and then beer. And then, okay, this is the local question. Which stack beer was the first to hit the shelves at the LCBO?
Oh, I know that one.
Which is the first stack beer to hit the shelves at the the LCBO.
I'm gonna say Saturday.
I would have said Saturday night too. Is it
go.
Saturday night?
Saturday night.
Good.
Woo! Woo! Hashtag Sudbury Saturday night.
Hashtag Sudbury Saturday night.
Okay, and he already mentioned it once. How many taps here at Hard Rock 42?
Oh, 60 something.
67. 65. Let it go, Chris. And if you happen to be a fan or listening to Flying for Flavor podcast, what 3 channels or players can we be found on?
I know that one. Oh, no, actually, I only know 2. I can remember the different
Oh my
one.
gosh, you're a co-host. You don't even
I
know
know.
which channels?
Spotify.
Yes.
iTunes.
Yes.
And that new one that I hadn't heard of before.
Stitcher.
Stitcher.
Okay, well, you don't win any
Stitcher.
prizes.
I know.
Anyways, gentlemen, I've got shirts for you. Yay! Well done. Okay, so I just want to close it. So next week, as for those of you who follow us on social media, we had a wedding contest
Yes.
last weekend, and so we entertained some bridal couples at Milestones here in Sudbury, and we had a really great brunch. Mimosas were had by most of all, except for the pregnant lady, because we don't do that. Could have been awkward.
She had her sparkling
She
in her
had
glass.
sparkling, yeah, she had orange juice and a champagne flute. Was close enough. Anyways, it was, so we taped that whole episode. That's coming up next Saturday, so once I have it edited. So besides the interviews with the brides, Cynthia and I actually pre-taped a little chat. There was probably alcohol involved in
There
that
might have
wedding
been
shot at
alcohol
some
involved
point.
in that one.
But anything you want to know about the food and wine side of the wedding business to help you plan your next big event, because this is just past Valentine's Day. Actually, Valentine's Day was yesterday, so I'm assuming there's some newly engaged people
It's a
out there.
busy time right now. Busy time.
All right, so I want to thank, of course, the guests, the attendees, listeners. Keep it going. Make sure you follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Subscribe to the podcast to get the latest on food, drinks, and travel news, event announcements, bonus recipes. We're up on every Saturday morning on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and as always, flyingforflavor.ca. Bottoms up, peeps.
Bottoms up. Woo!
Thanks, guys.